poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson.
Aloha and welcome to Chasing Poker Greatness. I'm your host, founder of EnhanceYourEdge.com, Brad Wilson, and for the next 60 minutes, I'm going to be conversing with PartyPoker Team Online pro and Twitch streamer extraordinaire, Jeff Gross. Jeff's been playing poker online and live for about 15 years and boasts an extremely impressive resume with over $4 million in tournament winnings. At the time of this recording, the Pocket Fives Poker database ranks Jeff at number 104 worldwide. Their numbers, of course, confirm his impressive earnings at some of the major online poker rooms, including $950,000 on Stars, $370,000 on Party Poker, $300,000 on Full Tilt, and $150K on America's Card Room. He also keeps himself busy as an entrepreneur, streaming on Twitch, managing a YouTube channel, and producing his own podcast. During our conversation, Jeff will let you in on his views about studying and what it takes to keep up in an ever-evolving game like poker, the importance of the company you keep around you, and the effects of how you interact with your peers at and away from the tables. You'll hear about the first major tournament cash that really set Jeff on the path to becoming a professional player, how Black Friday changed his career and his approach to both poker and life, and much, much more. So without any further ado, this is Jeff Gross on Chasing Poker Greatness. Jeff, welcome to the show. Super pumped to have you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. I wanted to kick this thing off by talking about, you started playing cards in college, right? And about what year was that?
I started in high school in 2002, 2003. Just someone brought poker plastic chip set to college. We were in high school, but it was a college, University of Michigan. We were there and brought the chips in. We started playing, $5 sit and goes, 25-cent, 50-cent. Cash games, very small, $5, $10 buy-ins, and just messing around. So that was when I first got on, and then got $25 on Party Poker, kind of deal, a couple player-to-player transfers. Back then it was very easy. You could play, I think I was 16 or 15 when I was playing, and you could just P2P transfer, and it was kind of the Wild West. So that was, started playing small online and playing live as well.
Yes, I remember the Party Poker P2P transfers. And back then too, Everything was limit. They didn't even have really no limit games, right? They were like 50 big blind, maybe $50 no limit type tables.
Yeah, it got going. I think around the time I started getting there and really moving, they did have the no limit tables going, but it was it was small and it was different, and it was a lot of it was just a very different landscape than it is today. And I was playing small. I wish I was playing a little higher then, because it was basically free money for anyone that understood even the concept of poker. So I was doing very well at the 25-cent, 50-cent level, but there were guys 5, 10, 10, 25 after like a year or so around that time that just really were able to crush and do super well. And like you said, you've been around, the landscape. Poker's gotten tougher, still very profitable and possible to do well, but it's just trickier. You got to be more selective and have better discipline and work on your fundamentals. So times have changed for sure.
Yeah, I remember Party Poker back in the day playing the 30-60 limit game. There were like 55 people on the wait list. I would wake up at 3 a.m., get on the list, and go back to sleep and just hope I didn't miss my seat when I woke up, because they only had 2 tables, right? The tables didn't spawn. It was just 2 always active tables going on. Sure. Pretty funny to think about now.
Yeah.
So, you got into poker in college. You grew up having a love of games, strategy games, board games. Can you speak about that? Was it just a family thing?
I was an only child, and friends. I just love board games, video games. I got a Sega Genesis for my 5th birthday. Remember that very, very vividly, playing Sonic the Hedgehog and those type of games. Then got sports games going. I played soccer since I was 4 with friends. Would have friends over. We'd always be doing board games and such. And I just always love games. So when I found out you could make money from a game, it was sort of the right place, right time to get into it, where it made sense instead of playing video games or Grand Theft Auto. I remember my sophomore year of high school playing a ton of that game. But then once I kind of found poker around the same time, and then junior year, and then I sort of just stopped playing video games, and poker became my go-to for that type of activity. And it it was great. It was a lot of fun, and met people that way, met a lot of friends. And from then on, just via poker directly or indirectly. And it's great. I think board games. I think games in general are great. Like I have some friends' sons that are interested in poker, and I give some help to. They're really 16, 17, kind of into it. And it's a fine line, right? You don't want to push someone and say, "Oh, gambling," and but if someone's got their head on their shoulders and they want to learn some concepts and lessons, I think in poker you can apply a lot of life lessons and get a lot of positive things out of it. I think poker has negative connotations attached to it in general in a lot of spots, and that's something that I think starting to shift and slowly become more acceptable. But it still kind of has that dark, seedy feel to it. It's almost like when I always get if a friend or parent of a friend of mine, has a kid and they're interested, I'm always a little worried, like how much do I want to dive in? I don't want to like get the kid super crazy hooked, but I also want to try to show them some tricks and some stuff. So it's a fine line, but yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great game, obviously.
And once people, speaking to that, once people get the poker bug, it's kind of hard to get rid of it, right? You realize, oh, I can play a game and I can make money, and I can make a lot of money. Once Pandora's box is open, you can't really box it back up. And poker does get a bad rap. And I've talked to a lot of people on this show, DGAF, guys that have played for a long time and have dealt with their own sort of existential crises regarding poker in general. And it's just super important to find a balance and don't go super bananas. Don't let poker ruin your life. Take it seriously, play hard, play within your means, learn as much as you can. There's really no excuse nowadays with so much available information. There's just no excuse to lack on the educational side. The only excuse is basically you just don't want to.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's important. It's to find a good balance between playing, studying, and all that. It's one of those things where it's easier to play in terms of being fun and makes sense, and that's great. But you really do need to have a group of people that you run stuff by or do studying on your own. If you're just playing, if you have 100, say X amount of hours a week that you're playing poker, and it should be probably, especially the earlier on in your game you are, the closer it should be split to study and play around the same. And obviously, if you've been playing for a long time, if you have good private games, home games, or good spots to earn, it's a little less, you could argue that you don't need to study too much or just kind of brush up. But yeah, I think it's important to be realistic that a lot of the best players are studying, doing work, PO solvers, or just at least running some type of simulations or some sort of check strategy with friends, or going over and reviewing different hands or study. There's a lot of good information, as you mentioned, out there, a ton of ways you can do studying. And if you're not doing that, then you're going to even if you're good, I think you'll get kind of left behind. And if you are fortunate enough to have revenue streams, and if you have, like you said, you stream on Twitch or you have other content or revenues, like you can definitely, I think, be a little more lenient on that because you can get away with it. But if you're grinding purely for a living, you definitely want to put the time in it and go and study as much as possible. I think that's huge. And a lot of people really don't do it.
Yeah. And I spoke with Jungle Man, who you don't really associate with possibly falling behind, but he was talking about how 2015 was just a struggle for him, a real struggle, a year where he struggled really hard, and he finally kind of bit the bullet and jumped into the simulations and PIO and really upped his game to get to where he felt he needed to be. So like if somebody like Jungle Man can fall behind due to lack of studying, then I'm pretty sure there's anybody in the world is gonna fall behind, because people every day, especially if you're at the top of the mountain, guys are hungry. They're going to come after you, and they're going to do what it takes to pull you down.
Absolutely.
So you gotta take care of yourself.
For sure.
You mentioned soccer. You've played soccer since you were age 4.
Yeah.
What sort of impact do you think soccer's had on your poker career, as far as like just working with a team, studying, pushing hard, that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, soccer's been great. My dad makes a lot of observation on parallels with poker in real life, but poker and soccer for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of even though it's an individual, it's a team game. Soccer is, and poker's in theory an individual sport, right? You're playing at a table, you are interacting with people and having to get along in situations. So I think there's a lot of parallel, a lot of similarities to it. I was fortunate to play in a really competitive team. I was captain of my team growing up. I played at university, went to University of South Carolina, had a partial scholarship for soccer. So I played at a high level up through college. And I think there's just a lot of winning and losing, dealing with having a good game or a bad game, understanding how to work with your teammates and learn how to deal with people and just in general. I think that's really important. You have to, at a poker table, you have to know how to treat someone that's negative and nasty, someone that's positive and fun. You want to kind of network with also people that are winners and losers, how you handle your own wins and losses. There's a lot of that is you kind of learn, right, as sports and competitive sports along the way, and a lot of life lessons. So I think poker applies in that sense, that there's a lot of similarities, winning, losing, different runs, right? You do well playing well, not playing well, practice, if you want to put time in off the field and do on your own, not just team practice, or games if you're putting in the extra work. So I think I could take a lot of stuff, but that does apply in a lot of sports or a lot of other activities. Like you can really apply in similar type of attributes you're able to gain. And I do think I was having that competitive mindset and focus, just playing one sport, didn't do like 3-4 sports. I was just one sport, did it to my best of my ability, played at a high level. I think that definitely was sort of nice, and also really transitioned. I just kind of went from college. I just sort of decided I wasn't going to go any further. Just wasn't really playing much in college.
Why did you have that decision? Was it the allure of poker? How'd that come about?
Yeah, I did. I started, but in the mid high school, I started getting really into it, and then as I was a freshman in college, I think I just got my first laptop. And I was playing online. It was really convenient because of classes and practice. I could just bring my laptop. I remember playing in class sometimes, and then I remember before practice or after practice, it was great to be able to hop in and out of these cash games. And then I just kind of realized, like, I saw a kid who was 1 grade above me. He was his name was Jacob Peterson. He was like one of the best players in the country for soccer, went to Indiana, won 2 national championships. He was on the 1-year Michigan Wolves team, older than me. And I saw how he was literally a phenom. And I remember he got like a Project 40. It was like the MLS contracts at the time that Major League Soccer was relatively new. And I saw he was like such a great player, just like miles ahead of me. And he was getting I saw like what a minimum contract was and like what he was getting in at. And he wasn't even going to Europe, right? He wasn't going to Man U or Barcelona or these teams, right? He was in USA playing. The MLS has come a long way, but it was smaller, very much smaller money. And I just kind of realized, like, even if I were somehow to give everything I had, I think I was probably physically limited to not going to the next level, just like speed and whatnot. But I just sort of realized, like, all right, what am I really doing? I got a scholarship. I'm in college. Do I want to be a professional soccer player? And I kind of always thought about it through like high school. I was like, oh, it's realistic. Maybe I could do it or whatever. And then once I kind of got there, my love for poker came prevalent. And I didn't get along with my coach in college. I was always like buddy with my coach, captain of my teams, talked to my coach all the time. He didn't really like that I played poker. Word got around. He's like Bible Belt guy, old school. Just didn't really click with him, and I kind of lost my love for it. And I was like, this is great. I get to not have to worry and study game film or go crazy and like go show up to games and be, I was like being a backup quarterback for even like a third string or something. Like I just didn't have to worry. I knew I wasn't going to be playing, especially my first 2 years, and it was kind of fun for me. I didn't mind. I partied a decent amount. I stayed in great shape every day. It's like a fraternity. I had a group of guys, right? I was friends with. I was on the team. It was benefits to being an athlete in college, and it was fun. And then I was playing poker late. I would stay up all night playing cards. I would go to my first classes and then sleep before practice, go to practice, play cards, and do my homework while I played online. It was great. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. I had an awesome time. It just realized it wasn't going to be me for the next level. And I kind of didn't want it anymore. I kind of really just was interested in other things, business stuff and poker. So soccer sort of took a back seat, had a good run, 17 years or so of playing intensively. And it just kind of teetered out for me.
Do you remember the number? How much the Phenom was going to be making with the MLS contract?
I remember Project 40. I think it was 40,000 is what they were getting, like their contracts out of college, basically, to be in this thing. Or he might even have left early, but it was like called Project 40. Actually, buddy of mine, the guy 1 year older than me on my team, Brad Gazan, who is the U.S. Actually, you might know that name. He's in Atlanta. I think he's a goalkeeper for the Atlanta team now. He was a men's national team goalie as well with Tim Howard. He's been to the World Cups, and he was the number 2 overall draft pick. So he left after his freshman year, after his sophomore year, because my freshman year he was our goalie, sophomore, like All-American, whatever. And he actually went ended up going to the Premier League a few years later and played over in I want to say Aston Villa, back in like 07, 8, 9, those 10, 11, that era. But anyway, it was just like he was one of the few, and I just remember seeing the guys on the list, and I just knew it wasn't that lucrative, and I realized like how far ahead. Because it's one of those things. I was captain of my team, all state, this and that, and I got to college, and it was like everyone was great, and I just kind of like got lost in the shuffle. I thought I was going to come in, play, be leading the team in assists. I played center mid, and then I was like, oh well. Didn't really get to play my freshman year at all, sophomore year. And then it's kind of just like the dream. I had opportunities to go to other schools where I probably would have started or played. I ended up taking this. I just loved I liked South Carolina, the weather. I liked the different. I didn't want to go to Michigan because it was in my backyard. It was cold. And I didn't think I would play there much. I thought I had a better shot here. And then it just, for whatever reason, didn't work out in terms of the playing stuff. But again, it was totally fine. And I wouldn't change it if I could go back. I'm happy how it went.
Yeah, I think at that level, like everybody that you play with on your team is the captain in high school and an All-American.
For sure. And then you're coming in too. You got guys that are seniors and juniors. You're in your position a year or two ahead of you,
which is a big deal at that age.
Yeah, it's tough. So it was a good experience, but just it is what it is. So kind of that dream ended there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably pretty eye-opening to see the cap. What you're working for, and you're like, oh wow, like that. I can't, even if I make it, it's still not an amazing thing as far as monetarily wise. And plus you had the backup of poker and the knowledge that
to be fair, the truth is I realized pretty quickly, it was just like, it was even just, I think it was one of those things. If I gave it like 1,000,000% and did everything in my power, I think I still didn't think I could probably play. So I was sort of just like accepted that, but it wasn't really disappointing. It was just kind of like, okay, this makes sense. And you start looking at the NCAA, the numbers in all sports and what percent actually go pro, or, and then you start looking at careers in the NFL or other things that average is like 2-3 years and all that. So it's like, you start thinking about, I had a buddy as well who played MLS, and, he didn't really get to play. He got in there. He was my age from my town, and we were good friends growing up and played on the same teams and stuff, but it's just, it's not sexy, at least in the past. MLS has come, I don't know the numbers now. I think the top players, they kind of have the farewell tour. Guys from Europe come there, Beckham and these huge names, Torres, they come and play their last season or two. Thierry Henry play for a season or 2 or 3. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, they come over and they're getting these big size contracts to be a name and just kind of fade out and through the MLS. But I think the overall standard still fairly, it's definitely different than the NFL or Major League Baseball contracts, obviously. So it's a different game, but
even those other games, the competition's still high. Like you mentioned, the NFL, the average career is 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a lottery as far as making the league and then thriving and not getting hurt. Like every play, you can potentially sustain a career-ending injury. You can scramble your brains. There's a lot of risk that goes into it. And while you're playing soccer, so your first big tournament score, you went to Atlantic City, bought into a 1K buy-in at the United States Poker Championships. Can you tell me about that experience?
That was pretty crazy. That was actually, I believe I was a couple weeks after I turned 21. I've been going to Atlantic City several times in the past. I like it there. I knew the routine of the whole thing. And then it was summer, or no, I'm sorry. I didn't travel. So my team went away for the weekend. I traveled some weekends. I didn't others. I wasn't traveling that week. And then my buddy who played tennis at South Carolina, actually, let me think. I'm trying to think who I flew with. No, that's not true. So I flew up there. That's crazy. I'm trying to remember who I went with, but I went there and then I ran into a buddy who played tennis there, and he was in my dorm and he was there for the weekend as well. It's kind of random. We hit it off. And then I played in this tournament. I ended up getting fourth, and I made a deal. I think I got like 17,900, but it was like 215 people. I got 12,900 plus 5K saver with someone who was also in. But it was pretty cool because it was a 1K buy-in. I was there for the weekend. It was a couple days, a USPC event, side event, and I got like 18,000 plus. Did well in the cash games. I was playing a little bit there too, so it was fun. I flew in and had like a 25K weekend. I mean, college, kind of like MIT blackjack, but poker version. Came back, and my team, whatever, they came back, I came back, and I had a cool story, and that kind of got me in it because that was literally the first live tournament I played. So to have, a final table, get some good money, come back, boost the roll, definitely was a memorable part of my career, and it's something that I think, if it had gone differently, would have been, maybe things would be a lot different. Actually I met one of my best friends in the world now, Tim Begley, who I met there in 2000. It was 2007. So I met him at the table, sitting down randomly, had dinner. We were there, and now we're very close. He actually came to the Olympics with me in the next year in 2008. And I actually met one of my other best friends in the world, Michael Phelps. That's also I met at a poker table, but that was in Windsor in 2006. So yeah, I mean, I've met some of my closest friends I've met directly or indirectly from poker or at a poker table, which is pretty cool.
Wow, I didn't realize Michael Phelps was playing poker back in 2006. I played with him in Commerce maybe 2013, 2014 in LA, but I didn't realize he had been in poker for that long. That's actually a while.
Yeah, he went to University of Michigan. I'm from Ann Arbor. We met there, hit it off, and then I went on vacation. I came back, had a voicemail. He's like, "Why don't we drive up together instead of whatever?" I drove with him. We became very close, and then I actually moved in with him in 2008 for 7 years. We were roommates in Baltimore, and yeah, he played he liked poker. He would play a lot, and he's definitely, I think, out of like, you see the athletes playing on Poker After Dark. You hear about some guys that do some poker. I know for sure he's definitely one of the strongest, like, kind of athlete, celebrity type deals. Like he's a, he knows what he's doing. He's seen a lot of hands, and he likes to kill low a lot, and very sharp guy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool seeing Michael Phelps at the table because it's Michael Phelps.
Right.
But it's not cool seeing Michael Phelps at the table just because he's going to be like giving it away.
Right.
I have played some PLO games with some athletes that like just potted in the dark. They potted it in the dark for like every hand for like a 2-hour stretch and dropped 30 or 40K in the game and then disappear. Which is just bizarre in its own right. But yeah, he's definitely a solid poker player. Was that kind of the moment where you realized like that Atlantic City trip, like, I'm going to do this. I can do this. This is my thing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I had a great coming into college. It couldn't have been more fun. I mean, I had been feeling good about my game. The 33 rebuy on Party Poker in particular, that tournament where you could like go all in. I don't know if you remember that glitch where you could just go all in and rebuy. So like, even if no one called you or you won or lost, you could just like go in and get chips. But that tournament was insane. So many people were doing it. So like the prize pools were just insane. Plus people played terrible. So like you could really get big stacks. And I had some great scores in there leading up to college. And I remember coming to college, I got a nice laptop. My freshman year, I had 2 flat screen TVs and, making absurd purchases. Like I'd win like 5, 6, 7,000. I'd spend 4 or 5 of it.
What was the silliest thing you bought?
Just probably plasma TVs, talking about like net worth to what I spent was just pretty crazy, right? Like I was spending like 70-80% of my bankroll on stuff, and it was just crazy times. But it was fun. I lived in the athletic dorms. We had a 4-suite room, so there's 2 and 2, and then like a living room, kitchens type deal. And then I actually got an affiliate. The turning point for me in poker was college freshman year. I got in affiliate programs. I've always been big into affiliate type deals and whatnot. But the one that changed the game was Party Poker, because they had this thing where I think it was $25 refer a friend. So you would get 25 for every friend you referred, plus they would get a $50 bonus if they cleared like 125 raked hands. And then they did these crazy bonuses. So like I would sign up 20, 30 people a month. And then I would get like, they would say, well, if you do 10 more the next month, you get like a 2,000 bonus. So I would make everyone these accounts. I would go door to door, sign people up, and then I would play, I would like put the money, get them on there, show them what to do. They would play the raked hands, and I would take the 50 back, leave them 50 in their account. And I remember months I would get like $6,000, and I was in college from just signing up people to play. And then I showed my roommates how to do it, gave them the role to do it. And I had like 20% some sub affiliate deal they had. So like then and that was like our spring break. We went freshman year to Cancun, and they paid for their spring breaks with it, and it was just awesome. I had all of a sudden there's like 100 people signed up, and it was great. Like I did that for most of my freshman year, this affiliate deals, and it was like kind of how I even got more into less playing and more just kind of generating that. And that was like when I knew I could do it for real, is when I had that sort of baseline stuff coming in, and poker was just so juicy. So I think it was before the AC score, but that got me into like the live kind of deal and looking to play more live events, and then the WSOPs and going out to the summer stuff. So it was definitely a confidence boost for live, but I had already been pretty deep into it. And, for
what year was that?
Let's see. I mean,
got to be like 2004,
2005. Yeah. I guess I graduated high school in 2004 and then was in college, and summer or spring or fall of 2004, I guess would have been the start of college. Yeah. So
that's really awesome. Hustling, talking to people, getting people signed up. I remember specifically, I joined the Party Poker affiliate program, did absolutely nothing with it, for the record. But they sent me like a box of things like windbreakers and business cards.
Those cards. They had the Mike Sexton business card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was crazy. I knew a guy making like $70K a month.
Holy shit! Yeah,
he was like one of the original ones. But I think I peaked at like 6,500, $7K a month, and then at some point they stopped it and changed it to MRR only, and or like based on the revenue that people were generating, it shifted. But yeah, it was great, and that was definitely like that was a good memory. That was like where I really put down a lot of work. Had the notebooks with all the emails and everything, and signing up everyone, and it was a wild time.
Flexing your entrepreneurial muscles along with poker, and then UIGEA happens, and Party Poker just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. So what was that? That must have been 2006. I remember that when that happened. They had all these monster tickets, this 20 mil or something guarantee they were doing.
Oh my God, yes, it was insane.
It just shut down. Then I got into Full Tilt and PokerStars. I think that's when I downloaded PokerStars for the first time, because I was literally just playing on Party. Got Full Tilt. PokerStars got in some other gaming networks and was messing around then, but it was that was a big moment, big change, and things shifted pretty quick there.
And you're grinding along, you're playing online poker. Let's move up the timeline to Black Friday. You mentioned, I mean, obviously Black Friday is a pretty cataclysmic event for online poker players. Can you tell me how Black Friday affected you, and how it turned out to be, like, in your own words, an amazing thing?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was in New York City. I was actually with the friend I mentioned I met in Atlantic City, Tim Begley. We were at him and Mez, our friend's apartment, and like woke up, saw the messages. We were playing a lot online back then. And it was just kind of crazy, because it was just like, oh, well, now this is like my routine. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm making money. This is how I'm trying to make money. And all of a sudden now, I live in Baltimore, I travel around, and now I just can't do what I was doing. So this definitely, it felt like doomsday, kind of like, wow, what's next? How's this going to work? But it kind of got me out of the online thing into playing more private games, going around doing cash games, go to Atlantic City more, was going to different stops, started playing the live tournament scene, and ultimately got me a lot healthier. I was sort of in a thing where we would play beer pong every night. I would play poker all day, order Chinese food. If I was out of the tournaments, hop in the drink basically late. I was in that phase of having fun and just out of no responsibility, no school, no soccer, no practice, no nothing. It was just kind of like Wild West fun. And I was getting out of shape. I wasn't working out, I was eating not well. I was partying a lot. So, and then I wasn't really doing much activity or traveling or out of being locked in a place. So yeah, I think ultimately it turned into be a real big positive, and I kind of got back and healthy, was traveling more. And then looking back on it, I think it was maybe the best thing that ever happened. Also, I think with my game at that point in tournaments, I think I wasn't doing studying really. I didn't know what to study. I was getting by on being a winning player, but looking back, like I was barely, break even or winner on there online by that time, I think, and just wasn't really doing a lot of work, right? Just sort of playing very ABC and whatever. And looking back on it, I realized how like some of the crushers and people that were really killing the game then, they'd they had done all that work, or they knew these stuff, or they read stuff. And it was a kind of a reset and a reflect and a recheck. And I think it was, just kind of worked out. One of those things where you look at it at the time when, really it's like, that's another thing my dad would tell me. It's like not about what happens, it's how you react to what happens. And that's super important. And everything, stuff's going to happen. Things you're going to look at immediately as like, oh, it's the end of the world, or you're going to get really upset, could have a shining light immediately after or down the road after. And really just got to like stuff, you got to take it for what happens. Stuff's going to happen. Bad people are going to die. Not saying there's like positives out of that necessarily, but stuff happens. You break your foot, you fall down, you lose, you get bad beat in the tournament, you sleep in, or you have a bad interview, or you get fired. Like stuff happens, right? And it's just like you just got to sort of like take it, like that's how it is. And now what, right? How are you going to go from there? Do you want to cry about it? Do you want to mope about it? Do you want to say this is like, why this is about me? This is so bad, or just sort of move forward? And I think that's a big lesson. And that was sort of something I could definitely look back on and use that as a powerful message in my life. To take that example and use that in that sense.
And that's super valuable, value bomb. Control the controllables, because life will throw you curveballs. Life is going to put things in your path that you don't anticipate, and you have to rise up to meet the challenge. I mean, I was completely blindsided in 2011. Like I didn't realize I could get fired, and then all of a sudden I got fired, right? And looking back on it now, it's like, I'm with you. I think that it ended up being a good thing for me. It broke my cycle that I was in, allowed me to mix it up, travel, meet new people, make new friends, and really forge a completely different life that at the end of the day has led me to more fulfillment and more happiness overall.
It's very true. I mean, I think in my experience of people, the people that are able to adapt and make those type of changes and realizations that life moves forward. And it's like, you have a real opportunity to, whatever you're doing, whatever field you're in, to take a situation that doesn't just impact you. And then it really, you can, depending how you let that affect you, you can really separate yourself from your peers by being able to understand that and what it means, and how you're able to shift quickly, right? Like some people were able to immediately go and they signed up in Canada and they got their name set up and they realized how to do it. They found ways around it, or they found ways to exist with it. There's others that just said, oh, this is it, or whatever, I'm done. This is the worst thing that ever happened. And like, at the same time, some people probably said, all right, let's say I had fun with poker. Let's get serious about life and do something else. And that's cool too. So, I think, right. That really can tell a lot about a person and how strong and adaptable they are to adversity.
It was a big filter. It filtered a lot of people out from poker at the time. And you mentioned that you're a break-even player. You weren't growing in the way that you felt that you should. What was the highest impact action that you took around that time to improve your game?
Started talking with players about hands, situations. I think poker has a lot of ego, of course. It makes sense. You want to believe that you're doing the right things, whether because you could just figure it out intuitively. But at some points, talking to guys that you see have better results, or friends that you might want to discuss hands with and say, hey, what do you think here? Because that could be something as simple as your small blind leak of calling, or a certain stack size of 20 to 35 big blinds you're playing, pairs incorrectly by flatting instead of shoving, or folding instead of calling. All these different, like, certain adjustments can go a long way. Like something small could trigger a big impact in your game, that maybe you play great in so many areas, but you play terrible in a few. And a guy who's just pretty good in most is going to even do better long term. So I think it was just sort of like realizing the players and checking my ego at the door and talking to people, and then just being open to different methodologies on situations of hands. I believe that was very impactful, and just sort of realizing like it's okay. I think a couple of friends that I was hanging out with a lot, they would lie sometimes too about their hands. Like you'd ask them, oh, what happened at a live thing, or there wasn't really reporting, or online. It's different, right? Like people say, oh, I lost ace, queen, ace, king, or I busted on this. And it's like people, it was almost like some train of thought was, it was like embarrassing to get your money in bad. And I think that was like a big thing to sort of realize, like, no, like, you're certain spots you're supposed to do stuff, like you need to make this play with queen jack off, shoving for 15 blinds, like that's the right thing. It's like, okay, if the guy had ace king or aces and you ran into it and you lose, like you made the right play. So I think I was I was stuck in a little bit of that some of that school of thought where people did want to get it in good, and it was important to get it in good, and that mindset, which wasn't necessarily correct. And just, I think that was a big growth, like realizing that and talking to people about spots and realizing like it's okay to take chances and make moves. And even if you run into a better hand, it's not a big deal. Just getting into that next level of player and thinking. So,
Yeah, outside perspectives, all these different inputs, they can be very, very helpful, especially when they come from trusted sources in growing your game exponentially, just really expediting that growth. And one thing that I always caution too, to be careful of it, is do pay close attention to the sources that you're getting your information from, because bad information can be very harmful to your game if you take it and apply it. So be sure you trust the folks that you're getting feedback from. What is up, you future star of poker, you? Coach Brad here, and I just wanted to take a moment to let you know about PKC Poker. If you're sitting there wondering to yourself, why is Coach Brad promoting this PKC Poker app thing? Allow me a moment to explain my why. Battling in cash games has been my livelihood for the past 15 years. It's how I survive and put food on the table for my family, which makes it imperative that I either test out or seek qualified opinions on all of the poker platforms on the market. One juicy find can mean the difference between a meh year and an amazing family vacation in Hawaii kind of year. With that said, I have tried almost all of the major poker apps on the market to date, and despite the hype about amazingly juicy games, have come away from the experience unsatisfied. I was just never able to find success against seemingly weak competition, and in one specific case was getting outright destroyed by passive villains playing more than 50% of their hands. What on earth was going on, right? After many evenings sitting in the bathtub, wondering if I had lost it, I finally dug into the data and learned something that shouldn't have been too surprising to you. These dudes were colluding and super using their pants off. So I swore off those free money, decentralized devil apps and decided to go back to my more familiar streets of ignition. It was then that I was contacted by a good friend of mine who turned out to be the vice president of worldwide operations at PKC. Him and I had a long, in-depth conversation about security, the ecosystem, and the future direction of PKC, and he managed to convince me to give it a shot. That shot turned into an incredible 6 months with an hourly rate that's about 5 times what it would have been playing on any other US platform. As it turns out, I didn't forget how to play. I just needed to be on a level playing field to return to my crushing ways. I have no doubt that you, my community, my audience is going to play online poker somewhere, and I want to be damn sure that you don't go through the pain and frustration I felt by messing around with any poker app besides PKC. This is why promoting PKC is a no-brainer for me. I love you, I love my community, and I want to put you in the best position to succeed at this game that we both love so much. So if you'd like to join me in the streets of PKC, simply head to enhanceyoredge.com/PKCpod and get your invite code to play. You must have an invite code to play, and you must be 21 years of age or older. One more time, that's enhanceyoredge.com/PKCpod to get your invite code. Best of luck, and now, on with the show. You mentioned private games, that you started playing in some private games. Can you speak about that, and what's your experience been in those games specifically?
I've been fortunate with that because private games, of course, are tricky, as opens up the door for, listen, there can be marked cards or cheating or collusion at any game, whether it's televised, casino,
Online.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, but you open up a huge opportunity for cheating, collusion. If places are taking a rake, that that you're getting, things are not done correctly. So it's very tricky. But my situation was, I did a personal development course in Vegas. Actually, Antonio Esfandiari had me go to it, and he suggested me to go there. Bill Perkins, as well as one of his very close friends, he's got to go there, and said, trust me, this will change your life. You want to check it out? We went there, we hit it off, became super, super close. And then shortly after, he was in Houston. I would come visit, hang out, and then I was playing the game there. This was just a wild game. I was like 200, 400, and I was playing this game all of a sudden with the best lineup I've ever seen and doing very well. So I did that for I don't know, 2-3 years of coming in for once or twice a week.
What year was this?
So it was like 2012.
Oh, wow. So not that far removed from where you felt you were a break-even player. What happened? Why were you able to find such success in such a massive game?
Well, no, I think first of all, I mean, again, we're talking online. Mostly I was playing tournaments, so multi-table tournaments. This is cash games. I've always done well in cash games. Online, like at that point, 6-max. I was trying to play like 12 tables of 1, 2, 6-max.
Yeah.
And I was whatever. Like I said, it wasn't nothing super great was happening. I did fine, but yeah, that was at that time. I think it was just when I play one table, more focused, and then also the level of play. Like it's just like you can play very exploitatively, right? Like you just know, like go for value when you have it. You can tighten up your ranges, and guys are gonna make big mistakes and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate, played in there. I mean, and then I met my wife in 2014, and it became less of like, and then I actually got into Twitch. So, it became, Bill moved away from Houston, and it was a lot to fly in there. Now I wanted to start a family. I had a serious girlfriend. I was living in Baltimore. It just became the game slowed down some, and it was just sort of like a lot to juggle doing that, plus trying to stream on Twitch, play live tournaments, have relationships. So I kind of had to make some cuts. And I think that was like the biggest decision I ever made, was to go for it with Twitch. That was a big decision to say, all right, let me just do this. I believe in the process. I think that I'm going to have a successful avenue here, but it doesn't happen overnight. Twitch, I've had a lot of people come to me and say, kind of tangent here, but it's interesting because a lot of well-known pros or people want to start it and try it. Either they do it, they never get off the ground, or they try it, do it like once, twice, 3, 10 times, and they maybe think their name is going to carry them. Now, a Phil Hellmuth, a Daniel Negreanu, like Phil Locker, Antonio Spandiari, if they hopped on, Phil and Daniel do have Twitch channels. They don't really do it, but they've done it. Those type of names, sure, could drive a big following and big numbers very quickly. But outside of maybe 4 or 5 people, it's like, even if you're a crusher, if you're one of the best high stakes players in the world, you're going to build a slow channel. Like it's just how it works. People have to follow you. They gotta, they add you, they see you're there. They want consistency. And that's just, it's a tough MO. So I think when I saw Somerville streaming, Jamie Staples, Kevin Martin at the time, and I was like, wow, it's pretty cool. I see they got big channels. I see how they have their affiliate stuff below, which hit home to me. I saw how there's like recorded content. Makes it kind of, at that time, poker was sort of dying in terms of multi-table tournaments, or it's got not dying, but it was so much harder, right? Like it was like people are playing for a living. It's a way different landscape. So I was sort of like, look, I like playing. If I'm going to play, make some sense, but so then I'm like benefiting. It's like playing a video game now too. Like there's no value in playing a video game, but if you stream, you become a good streamer, maybe get a scholarship. There's opportunities you can become. There are big monetized streamers now. So I thought the same thing with poker. Well, if I'm going to play online, I may as well record it. I may as well try this. Let's see if we can do it. And I sort of told my wife, like, hey, bear with me. I think this is going to be cool. And then back then too, the technology was different. The Twitch wasn't as nice. The internet issues, I was flying all over the world to try to stream. So we go to New Zealand, would go there, internet doesn't work. The hotels you have to call ahead, check. They say, oh yeah, 5 upload, 5 download, which is still not great, but it was like good enough. And then you get there, that's not steady. Australia couldn't stream. Brazil, worst internet at the time. Just traveling around. I mean, I have stories and things I wish I was filmed or could have documented up. The tilt, the stress, carrying your stuff on the road, the laptop, you miss a cord, Ethernet cord, something breaks, your second monitor, your bag's lost, like all this shit, the struggles of streaming on the road. Like if I could have just streamed from my house and click live and have my nice setup and my comfortable chair, good internet, all good equipment, I would have probably streamed every day by now, or every other day, or whenever I could, 2, 3, 4 hours a day. But that was a very intensive process to get kind of go through it. So that was like the biggest move, I think, decision to sort of get away from the steady private game to build something. Because again, a private game is amazing, right? If you're in a great private game, it's good. But guess what? There's no real value. You make some good contacts, okay, but then the game dies. A couple of the big feeders of the game don't come play. Or, whatever reason, the game shuts down there's 10 different reasons it could shut down. And then what? If you have nothing, if you're not investing, if you don't have some sort of backbone, there's really no foundation for yourself, like other than being good at poker and whatever. If you have Twitch, if you have YouTube vlogs, you do podcasts, you have endorsements, you have other opportunities, you lay a foundation. Now you're pretty insulated from a bad run or from whatever. And just, you have that always. You have your Twitch videos, you have content you can put up later, you can do stuff with. So, for me, it was like in my mind, I had this whole vision. It was like, it was a long-term play. And I think even just in the last, even up to maybe a year ago, I was like, man, is this the right choice? The game picked up, it got bigger. And I was just like, is it the right play for me? And then as I thought about it, it just was like, it was just simply like, I see the light, I got a deal, the dream with Party Poker, got a good thing going there, and some other stuff happened, and it just kind of all came together. But it was a tough choice, and not really sure what the right answer was at the time. But it just kind of, my gut said, go this route, go the content route, do what you love, and build something. So that was like a big change and chance.
Yeah, I mean, we can't compare the timelines because we don't know what happens if you go the other route, right? So it's like an impossible thing, but it seems that, you're exploding. Your podcast itself is exploding. The things that you make, your website, all of that is, I'm very envious of how beautiful the graphics and everything looks. Because this is something that I struggle with in such a big way, a massive way.
I mean, really, the answer is always, in my opinion, outsource. Like Andrew Nemi, for example, he's got the marquee YouTube channel. 120 to 30 or whatever it is, 1,000 subscribers. That's his thing. He's doing his own videos, his own editing, and all that. It's very tough. I think he was looking to outsource that. This some point, but that was like his craft. He learned it. But I mean, it's like he's spending 8-10 hours a day on just the vlog. So for me, I've been lucky that I've had a guy, Adrian, who did over 200 Twitch streams development. He was with me. I kind of took him on full time. He then started doing less of all the other stuff he was doing, focus on mine. We came up with a deal, and then Bill Perkins, I told him, hey, like I think you'd like Twitch. He started doing Bill's stuff, just exclusively working for us. And we have him directly doing the stuff, because it's hard, man. If you're doing your podcast, you're doing your stuff, you're creating the content, that's like what you want to do. I think you hit on it. We talked before a bit about finding some ways to monetize, having some steady other stuff. Then you can start justifying or spending, because it'll come back. Once you get to that point where you're like, all right, I'm going to spend X amount a month and outsource, pay for some advertising, pay someone to help me, you're going to level up. Because if not, you can't really get ahead, because of what you're good at or what you want to do is, is it good? Maybe it's valuable to learn how to edit and do some stuff, but the time it takes and all that, really, the opportunity cost with other content or playing you can do, it's tough. So I think that's a big suggestion I would make. And again, I have no idea on if you're doing it all yourself or if you have some help or whatever, no. But that's a big step, I think, for people out there looking to sort of go that route and try to take that and maybe go out of your comfort zone and say, I don't want to spending 500,000, 2, 3, 4,000 a month or whatever it is. If you sort of like break it all down, you realize you can expand your horizon a lot. It's usually going to be worth it. If you have good content and you have a good message, I think it ends up usually working out to try it.
Very gratefully, I have a team of 10 now that, I'm managing them and building the business, and they're immensely helpful in every single aspect of the things that I do, because you only have so many hours in the day. Like you said, Andrew Nemi spending 8 to 10 hours a day, and that takes him away from creating more content. That takes him away from growing his brand and doing other things that he could be doing. So buying those hours back by heading to Upwork or heading to some freelance site and finding guys, and I'm with you too. Like, I don't believe you should be a master at all the little things like editing and graphic design and these things. I do think you should have some cursory knowledge so that you at least know what people are doing. Because if you hire somebody for Facebook ads and it just completely bombs, you need to know what went wrong and how you can improve.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. It's fun to learn as well. It's just, I think I met CeeLo Green at Amfar at this charity poker thing and chatted with him a bit, and I follow him on Instagram, and I saw one of his things. It was I love the statement. It was about like, I don't complain about having a lot on my plate because I'm the because I want to eat. Like I'm the one who wants to. It's like, I think it's a blessing if you get to that point where it's just like I have so much stuff I can do. People that complain, they're so busy, whatever. I mean, really, it's like, that's kind of what you want. And if you're able to choose and sort of itemize what's important or whatnot, it's cool. It's a good thing if you feel busy and you have a lot going on. Yeah, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a personal preference, and it's what brings you joy and what makes you happy and what you want to spend your time on. I think like if you hate editing your podcast, for instance, and you're spending 3 hours doing it, then hire somebody else to do it, because that 3 hours you can spend doing something else, and likely if you're in the poker field, make more money doing it anyway. So yeah, it's a personal preference on all of these little things. All right, let's head into the lightning round here. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about poker, what would it be?
Probably I would have to go with the tanking slash talking rule stuff. I think Jamie Gold sort of blew it for everyone, and not even blew it, but like not necessarily to his fault because it was what was allowed, but that I think how the rules were shaped from that were really not correct in a way. They're overcompensating, I think, for the extreme, just saying no talking. It's pretty annoying when you're at a table and you can't even start chatting to the guy you're playing with. Like I get like there's angle shooting, you're trying to get information about the hand. But I mean, so many times I see a dealer say you can't talk about anything but the weather, and try, or like you, it's like they're so stringent on that. And I think that's like, I think it makes people less have fun, also more afraid. And it just feels kind of like that to me is bothersome, because I get it. I get the reason why they don't want like to protect people from giving up information about their hand. You shouldn't say, oh, I have ace queen, and I'm still playing these mind games and specifics of your hand, but like still you can, are you bluffing, or talk to a guy and say, would you do this here? I think you have, or like, this doesn't make sense, talk a little bit of your thought process and stuff. I just feel like that was so fun on TV to see back in the day. These guys kind of work through hands or talk about it or say to a guy, and like Negreanu or Mattisau, and these characters that chatted, and Devilfish, and all these guys were just animated personalities, Umberto Brenes, and all these things that just sort of have gone away. And like that, I think that's something that I miss, and I think is a issue with the game right now.
Yeah, there's this direct correlation between freedom and security. And by aiming to make the game more secure, they've taken away a lot of the freedom. Because poker is a psychological game, right? Like everything is information, everything's data. You're constantly collecting it, and it's a game of people. Like if you're not going to let people talk, then why are we even here? Why are we sitting around in this circle playing this game? If you can't say, hey, I've got a really good hand here, like, what's going on? Just have, because yes, of course you're trying to get more information. That's what everybody's trying to do, but that's the game. That's what makes the game beautiful. Personally, I think this is from a cash game player's perspective. Like I would love it if people could show their cards and talk about it and try to get a reaction. And I mean, people can close their eyes. People cannot respond. That's their own choice. If they engage, that engagement, when you have Negreanu talking to somebody and they're talking back, that's good for TV. It's good for the game, in my opinion. Yeah. And I'm 100% with you. And Jamie Gold, yeah, I've played with him multiple times, and it's not that. That's just him. That's who he is, actually. He talks incessantly, regardless of if the cameras are on or if the cameras are off.
Yeah, no, for me, that's what I just see it all the time. It's like, it frustrates me especially when it's not about, when they're clearly not, that's like, it gets uncomfortable almost. Like it's like an amateur will say something or do something where they're clearly just thinking or talking or visibly frustrated, have a tough decision. And then they like say, the dealer's like, you can't talk. Can't say anything. It's just like, really? Yeah. Like, and then they kind of feel embarrassed or unsure. It like almost looks like they're angle shooting or something, and they're not. I mean, so it's yeah, I think that's the issue.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you 100%. What's something people would be surprised to learn that you're horrible at?
I guess I get made fun of for driving. I mean, Mike always used to say that, and my friends would say, because I didn't really drive. I actually got a lease in 2013 or 14 or 15 or something, I forget. But I ended up putting 2,000 miles on the 24,000 lease. I don't really drive a lot, and I don't know. I guess that people think I'm bad at driving. I take a lot of Ubers now. I have a car. I didn't have a car even for like a couple of years because we're traveling all the time. Got one. We have a baby, 5-month-old now, like it sort of seems like I get that comment that I'm not good at driving. At the same time, knock on wood, I've never had an accident or a problem. But
look, this is me. Like, you're speaking my language here. Like, yeah. And I don't know if your wife comments. My wife does comment about me being a bad driver. And I'm like, I've never been in an accident. I've had some speeding tickets, But, let's hold off calling me a horrible driver until I get into some crashes here. Like, what's my what's
Yeah,
what's the
exactly.
metric that you use to judge good and bad drivers if it's not getting into accidents, right?
For sure.
Um,
Exactly. So yeah, I guess you could say bad driving.
what's a project you're working on that's near and dear to your heart?
Really a couple, but I mean I'm working with Rob Young on some stuff with Party Poker and just in general changes there. Also a side project that's coming to be announced pretty soon that's related to industry with him. But I'm doing some stuff with him and just in general Party Poker, trying to get the cash game scene back online. It's very tricky, whether you have aliases, not aliases, how the games are structured, how they're not predatorial. So I think that's something that would be a huge win for the game if there could be online cash games that feel kind of back, date back a decade or so, which is uphill battle. But Rob's working really closely on doing that. He's got a lot of ideas and innovation and really open with the players and getting feedback on that. So that's something I'm trying to help with and just get the online poker kind of in general, better feel for not having negative connotations and get that back to healthy. So I'd say just kind of branding, working with Party Poker and getting the overall poker feeling of online back to a stronghold. So that's sort of the biggest thing I'm working on, as well as the podcast, growing the podcast, trying to find a rhythm with that because yeah, same thing. I want to get more of a schedule, like once a week or have set times and stuff. And there's periods of time where I'll do like 2, 3 in a row and then won't do one for a month. So, that was a big learning too. As you're doing the shows, but just like how to get the timestamps, how to have it done, put it out on all the outlets, Spotify, iTunes, get it digitally done correctly, have all these things. Like it's so hard to start stuff. I think that's something I've always been pretty YouTube vlogs, Twitch, just saying, I don't really care. Like someone will say, what's your goal? What's going to happen? I don't know. Is Twitch going to work? I don't know. My YouTube is going to be successful. I don't know. Is the podcast going to go forever? Is it going to make money? I don't know. I'm doing it because I like it. I'm doing it because I believe I can be good at it. And I see a long-term path. I think if you just don't, they say the first step, 1,000 miles, all these quotes or whatever. But really, if you like something, you want to try it, you should dive in. If you wait till the best equipment, if you wait, I need to line up 100 guests, this kind of stuff, you're just never going to happen. You really just got to go in for it. And you'd be surprised. You reach out to people. I'm looking to do not just poker. That's why I made Jeff Gross podcast. I didn't do Jeff Gross poker podcast because I want to do guests, not just only poker. It'll probably still be half or more poker. But, I think that's what I'm passionate about, is just kind of going for stuff, doing it. And then whatever happens down the line. Is it going to be Joe Rogan podcast? Am I going to make money from it? I don't know. I don't really care. Really. And I think that generally, usually those things work out the best when you do something you're really passionate about. If you do something you love, they say you'll never work a day in your life kind of thing. And that's sort of what I try to do.
That's awesome, man. I didn't realize you're going to branch out to like the non-poker player type folks. And last year, I did a podcast completely different, not about poker, and spoke with experts, Olympians, amazing entrepreneurs, learning their daily processes. And that was just an amazing experience. It didn't make me much money, but then it prepared me for this project. I know the process now for doing all the things that you talked about because it's extremely time consuming. I know the folks listening might be surprised, but I don't just wake up out of bed, upload a podcast episode, and it gets distributed across all channels, right? It's like a 15-step process that's extremely intensive and tough. And really, there's a story about potters, and these two potters, one potter spent 1 week making one piece of pottery, and this other potter spent a week making just as many as possible, right? And then they compared to see which one was the best. And it was like not even a contest. Like the people that made the many, many, many different pieces of pottery just crushed the person working on one. So it's an immersive experience. Get in there, try it out. It's going to suck. Like whenever you do something the first time, it's going to suck, period. You just have to learn from that and grow as time goes on. And you can really build something great if you put the time and energy into that learning process and growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's evolution too. It's like the equipment gets better, the stuff gets better, the technologies you're working on, the platforms get better with speed, with precision, with features. Twitch has the multi, what's it called? The squads now. There's just all these different innovations, and the graphics get better, and the bits they add and donations and different like tricks and things just kind of improve along the way. So it's fun. It's fun looking back. I've had three different logos, different slogans, different names, different emojis, emoticon, like the whole thing just kind of, it just sort of happens overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. And you just sort of look back and you're like, wow, like that was crazy. Like I remember 2-3 years ago and all this stuff. So yeah, just get in there, do it, and sort of learn as you go. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. The days are long, but the years are short. You look back and see how far you've come and you realize, holy shit, like it doesn't seem like it because you're with yourself every day, but then you look back and you're like, wow, I can't believe.
And I think there's a big opportunity as well. There's with poker, if you enjoy content and you're younger and hungry, you said you're 33?
I'm 35, I think.
35, yeah. I mean, we're, like the guys, like I'm very close with Antonio Esfandiari, Phil Locke, Brian Rast, those guys. And then there's, Helmuth as well. But then there's other guys like Ivy. If you really name the big four, Negreanu, Ivy, Helmuth, Antonio, I think those are like the four pillars in poker, like that have been around. They're like the main guys that play the highest stakes, have done some of the craziest stuff. And, the personalities you've seen forever. I mean, you can name another 10 guys as well in that list, but those are sort of like, I would say the biggest four. Antonio's got 2 kids now, plays more cash games, kind of relaxes, isn't really doing tournaments. Negreanu just resigned from Stars. You got Helmuth, who he's also, he's pretty active and does stuff, but he's also not like super active. And Ivy sort of disappeared and just in his own little world on what's happening. He's over in Asia. It's like, there's a lot of opportunity. I think now the guys that are in the industry are the Twitch guys, the YouTube people, the podcast, the guys that are doing content, Joey Ingram's, those type of things. You got Lex, who's got a huge lead on Twitch now, just been so active and consistent. But, it's like guys like Jamie Staples, myself, like you're doing a podcast, you're doing a lot of content, you're putting stuff out, you stream. Like this is the stuff where if the USA opens back up as well, there's going to be great opportunities. And I think that's like, people are looking for that. Like there's guys I see that I remember my first YouTube vlogs I was doing in 2017 in Vegas. Same thing. I just was like, you know what? Let me start this YouTube thing. Jamie Staples told me it's the way to go months before. I said, I'm going to start it. I got in. I walked around. My first vlog was terrible. I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm filming everything, walking through stores, whatever, this and that. But then I remember bringing my camera to a tournament around that first week, and a guy came up to me. I had released maybe 5 or 10 vlogs, 4 vlogs. It was midway through the summer. This guy is like, comes up, and we're sitting at a 1,500 WSOP event. He's like, oh man, that's cool. He's like, that's really cool. You're doing the vlogs. Like, that's great. He goes, do you know Doug Polk? And I was like, yeah, I know Doug. What's up? And he's like, I love that guy. He's the reason I'm here. Like I haven't played poker in 2 years. And it was like, the guy's like saying, now here's from Doug's video, this guy was like there at the World Series playing an event. And I think that's like the power of that type of stuff. Like the guys that are putting out Troopers and Jeff Boskis and, you can name 100 guys, and Tonka, Easy with Aces, Spraggy, Matt Staples, Pav, like guys on Twitch and then the YouTube. And then it kind of flows in together. And it's just like the people that are putting the content out, those are the ones that are keeping poker alive. Because if there's no Twitch, no YouTube, no podcast, poker would be basically dead. I mean, Poker Central, Poker Go now, they got, they do the Poker After Dark sometimes. They have these special shows once in a while. It's a little different. But really, that's what I think people are watching and they're seeing it. And that's getting them excited. That's getting them interested. That's getting them back in it or into it for the first time. And, Pennsylvania just passed. Sports betting passed at a federal level. Like there's definitely signs of a resurgence and sort of opportunity coming, I think, for those that are hungry and want to do it.
And people love it. And, beyond just showing the final tables, like on ESPN, their poker coverage, which was great back in the day too. Yeah. There's just a giant market for people that want to consume poker content, which I think reflects the status of the market in general. And maybe one day it will come back to the US on a bigger scale than it is now. And I think that would be a very good thing. I remember the glory days of Party Poker. I would very much like that to happen. But yeah, in the meantime, just going to keep doing my thing, and you'll keep doing your thing and creating the best shit that we can. Yes. So last question, then we'll get you out of here, man. You can go to Europe. Where can the Chasing Poker Greatness audience find you on the World Wide Web?
Yep. So I'm Jeff Gross Poker across the board. Twitch in particular, it's jeffgrosspoker.tv. I have YouTube channel, Jeff Gross Poker, and then Twitter, Instagram, pretty active. Instagram stories almost every day. put out content there. A little bit of my son now and family stuff, but it's a lot of poker.
Oh, it's
I have
a
Poker
lot.
Flow show. What's that?
It's a lot of your son. Let's not be modest.
Yeah.
You're very proud.
I get it. I get those parents now that post the baby stuff all the time. It's just so fun. But Poker Flow show is very poker heavy only. That's on my Instagram and Twitter. And then I have Jeff Gross Podcast, which is the podcast that's across all this podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. It's separate channels. So, but if you, Jeff Gross Poker, really. Snapchat as well. I don't use it as much, but Facebook, I have stuff, Discord, I have a lot of the difference, and a website. My website, you can see kind of all that and see my results or whatever. It's bio across the board, everything tied in there. So
yeah, love it, man. And all this will be in the show notes for those of you listening that want to click through and check it out. Jeff, it's been an amazing experience. Thank you for coming on, my friend. I've enjoyed it greatly.
Awesome. Really nice to meet you, talk with you, and we'll see you soon. I'll be following along, and best of luck. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Chasing Poker Greatness. If you haven't yet subscribed to the show, please take a moment to do so on Apple Podcasts or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts may be. And once again, I wanted to let you know about PKC Poker. If you're on the lookout for a new poker platform where the games are safe and secure and the action's amazing, head to enhanceyouredge.com/PKCpod to get your code and jump into the games. You must have a code to play, as well as be 21 years of age or older. One final time, that's enhanceyouredge.com/PKCpod. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time on Chasing Poker Greatness.